நம்முடைய தமிழ் மொழி உலகிலேயே மிகவும் தொன்மையான மொழி. எந்த தேசத்திடம் இருக்கின்றதோ அந்த தேசத்திடம் பெருமிதம் பொங்க வேண்டுமா கூடாதா சொல்லுங்க.
செம்மொழி வலையொலி யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த சேனலின் மூலமாக, அந்த வலையொலியின் மூலமாக பல்வேறு தகவல்களை தினந்தோறும் நாங்கள் வழங்கி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலையில் சிலப்பதிகாரம் என்ற தலைப்பில் ஒவ்வொரு பகுதியாக வழங்கக்கூடிய அந்த தொகுப்பை முழுமையாக கண்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
The title of this paper is Pathitrupathu, History as Literature. Of all the Sangam writings, Purananuru and Pathitrupathu are the two monumental works from which we can gather authentic historical details about the ancient Tamil kings and their kingdoms. Though both present history as literature, Purananuru is of greater literary value than of historical importance, while the converse is true of Pathitrupathu. It is clear that a handful of minor literary forms that speak in praise of kings in certain characteristic ways have been originally derived from Purananuru. What is known as Prasasti or Meikirti catalogues the activities and achievements of a king. This may be found inscribed in stones. Tasangam and Sinnappu describe the 10 insignia of a king: law, country, city, river, garland, horse, elephant, drum, hill, weapon. Attamangalam lists the 8 auspicious things to be seen by the king. Perumangalam greets him on his birthday. Sadhagam mentions his birth in verse. Kadigai Venba tells him the time of the day. These are the subjects ascribed to some Thurais mentioned in Purananuru. A king's character and victories are celebrated in Arasavagai. The greatness of his ancestors is attributed to him in Iyal Mozhi. His royal umbrella is eulogized in Kodai Mangalam. His horse's heroism is sung in Kudirai Maram. His compassion, charity, power and brilliance are stated in Padan Pattu. The ancient history of his ancestors is narrated in Mudal Vanji. His sword is glorified in Val Mangalam. He is hailed in Varthiyal. His philanthropy is acclaimed in Varthu. Kurungozhiyur Kirar's poem on Mandaranjairal Irumborai is a typical example of these songs. This is his song. From Cape Kumari in the south, from the great mountain in the north, from the oceans on the east and on the west, the hills, the mountains, the woods and the fields in unison utter their praise of you. He tells the king, you who protect us, you who are descended from those who rule the world, their gleaming wheels rolling free, you who avoid cruelty and hold your rod erect, are impartial and take only what is your due. Murderous warrior who governs those living in cool Tondi with its low-hanging coconut clusters, wide fields, its mountain boundary and broad seashore, where the sand is like moonlight and there are flowers like fire in the clear backwaters, as a killer elephant with long tusks, very large, very strong, might disdain to notice the cover over an elephant trap and be caught in the deep pit and then destroy that hole so that it cannot be used again, rejoining his herd, which is filled then with relief. So, through your irresistible strength, you escaped, overcoming your discomfiture, and many who had been deeply despairing rejoiced, and the praise of you was sung on high before a multitude of nobles of exalted family, while enemy kings served you, calculating that they might gain rich land you had captured or fine jewels that had come to you, if only your heart were gracious toward them. But more profoundly appraised on them, we will lose our broad fortresses protected with their outposts, should he glance at us in anger. And they serve you because of your might and glory, which I have come to see and to praise, O greatness. You whose army has so many shields that the people, bewildered, see them as massed clouds, and so many enormous elephants that the honey bees take them for mountains, an army so hugely swollen your enemies are terrified, so like the ocean that the clouds try to draw water from it. You whose royal drum is like thunder, shattering the heads of snakes whose venom is hidden within their fangs, boundless benefactor ruling those of the West. This is his tribute to the king. This poem, which has Arasavagai or Iyal Mozhi as its Thurai, has the characteristic features of a Meikirti. Such pieces in Purananuru were responsible for the birth of Prasasti Kavyas in Prakrit and Sanskrit. Literary historians are of the view that the Sanskrit Prasasti contributed to the growth of Indian literary tradition. More than 15 Prasastis, each consisting of 10 to 100 stanzas, written in a style mixing prose and verse, are available to the present historians. Harisena's Prasasti, found in the Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta, gives in 8 stanzas an account of the death of Chandragupta I, who while in his deathbed chose Samudragupta as his descendant. The anxiety of ministers before the heir apparent was chosen, the disappointment of the other princes after the choice was made, and the words uttered at the moment of nomination, that is, you will become the ruler and save the world. These words are all subtly expressed in the Prasasti. The style of these stanzas, characterized by simplicity, clarity, realism and sweetness, later developed into what is known as Vaidarbhi. The long prose sentence that comes at the end describes the greatness of Samudragupta, who won several wars. This is supposed to be the longest sentence in Sanskrit. One should remember here that there are many poems in Purananuru which consist of single long sentences. Harisena's Prasasti Kavya ends with a poem that prays for public welfare. Considered to be valuable historical documents, each of these Sanskrit Prasastis begins with an invocation. glorifies the king and his ancestry, states why the stone with the inscription was erected, pleads with the public to protect the stone, mentions the names of the one who built it, the priest who consecrated it, the author of the Kavya, and the sculptor who inscribed it together with the date of inscription. The inscriptional literature in Kannada may also be found to be based on the poems in Purananuru. According to Prabhu Shankara, the original source of Kannada poetry is traceable to the stone inscriptions of Karnataka, the first of them being the Halmidi inscription of about 450 AD. The Shravana Belagola inscription of 700 AD about the Jain monk Nandisena has a verse in the Vritta meter. This is the verse. Like the rainbow, like the wavy web fretted on the heavens by the tongues of lightning, and like the mist, heaps of riches, immense beauty, and great glory appear for a moment and disappear instantly. They do not stay long with anyone. Valuing as I do the ultimate end, I will not remain here on this earth. So resolving, did Nandisena, the great ascetic, embrace sannyasa and attained the world of gods. This is the inscription. The following is one of the verses in the native Tirupati meter found in the Badami inscription of 700 AD, praising Arabhatta as a great hero. Mild to him that was mild, sweet tempered to him that was sweet tempered, he was yet a terrible foe to the troublemaker. He was Madhava himself and none else. The impact of Purananuru on such verses is quite evident. In one of her poems on Adiyaman Anji, Avayar says, this is Avayar's poem, as is a great elephant settling into the water to clean his white tusks at a bathing site for the little children of a town, so sweet you are for us, O greatness. But like that elephant, when he has entered into rut, dangerous to touch, O greatness, you are other than sweet to your enemies. It may be recalled here that Ramanuja in his Gita Bhashya uses Avayar's image of the elephant to describe God's kindness to the good and God's cruelty to the wicked. Pathitrupathu contains 10 panegyrical poems on Chera kings, the Thinai of all the 10 being Padan, which Nachinarkiniya defines as the hero's conduct and personality. The 8 kings of Pathitrupathu belong to 2 different Chera lines, the Udiyanjeral and Anduvanjeral Irumborai, the former being the senior and main Chera line of Manji, and the latter the Irumborai line of Tondi. The second 10 and the third 10 are of the 2 sons of Udiyan, namely Imayavaramban Nedunjeraladhan and Palyani Selgelu Kuttuvan. The 4th, the 5th and the 6th 10s relate respectively to the sons of Nedunjeraladhan, namely Kalangai Kanni Narmudi Cheral, Kadal Perakkotiya Senguttuvan, and Adugot Pattu Cheraladhan. The rest of the poems relate to the Irumbarai family. The 7th 10 is Selva Kadungo Vazhiyadhan, the 8th of Tagadur Erinda Perunjeral Irumborai. Each decade of Pathitrupathu has an annexer called Padiham, which like a miniature Meikirti mentions the names of the poet and the patron king, the time of his reign and the honor conferred upon the singer. The Padiham of the second decade, for instance, states Kumattur Kannanar composed these 10 poems on Imayavaramban Nedinjayaralathan, who was born of Veliyan Venmal Nallini and Udiyan Jayaran of widespread fame and of spotless conduct and veracity, who possessed a sweet-toned war drum. Nedinjayaralathan conquered all the lands in the country and ruled gloriously over the great empire with the seas as its borders. He went up on his conquering tour even to the Himalayas of perennially cascading streams and covered his bow symbol on the mountain slope and carved his bow symbol on the mountain slope. He subjugated the Aryans of traditional glory. He vested the Yavanas of crude, violent speech and tied their hands behind them and poured ghee over their heads. They were freed by him only on payment of invaluable jewels and diamonds which he brought to his capital city, a redoubtable stronghold, where he distributed them to all who were in need of help. Such was the king's valor, which crushed all those that did not bow down to him. The king gave the learned poet 500 villages as largesse, as well as a share of the revenues of the southern part for 38 years. Imayavaramban Nedinjayaralathan ruled the kingdom for 58 years. This is the Padiham. As some of the Tamil scholars have pointed out, the greatest value of Pathitrupathu consists in its being a historical document on the early Chera kings of Tamil Nadu. Its translator, A.V. Subramanian, has acknowledged that there is in it much else that is of value to the student of history and of sociology. This is what he says about Pathitrupathu as a historical and sociological document. References to the habits and customs prevalent among the people and to the beliefs relating to the heavenly bodies and their influence on earthly institutions occurring in these poems throw considerable light on the society of the Sangam age. We find numerous references to the food habits of the people. We notice how food on festive occasions invariably included meat, which appears to have been consumed by all without a distinction of caste. The Sangam Tamils imbibed liquor, but perhaps to moderation. For while we find frequent mention of drinks circulating, we never hear of a man acting under the influence of excessive drink. Liquor was probably consumed by happy men to set an edge on their enjoyment of an occasion, usually a victory over a powerful adversary. Men did not drink to drown cares and anxieties and frustrations as in our own neurotic times. This is what the critic says. We see the farmers ploughing the land, joyful at the prospect of a bounteous harvest, joyful just at being alive. The countryside is filled with the cheerful noises of pulsating life. While the fields are prepared for the paddy crop, we see some fields with a standing crop of sugar cane. In a corner, we also see the crusher and the huge oven and the boiling vat where the sugar-heavy juice shall be processed to yield golden nuggets of jaggery. The peasant is a hospitable fellow and offers a delicious dish of pounded millet and mountain honey to anyone that crosses his threshold. The city bustles with activity and the bazaar presents an animated spectacle. We see warriors everywhere, and when there is a war about, the whole town lives in a state of martial frenzy. We have heard how mighty is the king in battle, how ruthless, how ferocious. But to the poets and even the talentless destitute, the king is kindness itself. He gives them all a royal welcome. As K.G. Sheshayar in his Chera Kings of the Sangam period, another great work, observes, there is remarkable concurrence of testimony between the Sangam works and the Periplus on the commercial activity of the ports of the Chera country. This is a Greek work, At these seaports, there were warehouses maintained for storing foreign merchandise. These products were sold to foreign merchants for gold, while paddy was adopted as the usual measure of value for internal trade.